The history of art. The icon. A spiritual communion between heaven and earth. Today, any reference to an icon brings to mind a small picture you point to with a mouse on a computer screen. It's an instruction, using a symbol rather than a word. This definition translates well to panel painting, a picture that takes the place of something else, using an icon as an intercessory that acts for you. In the Greek, Russian and Uniate Church of the Ukraine, an icon was and is a sacred religious picture on wood or other material of the Lord, the Virgin Mary, a saint, a heavenly body, a representational picture of a sacred person, a religious group or biblical scene. Later, civil leaders were included. All believed would be intercessory to the Lord, to those who asked for it. Art critics and writers have neglected the icon as an art form. The many wars, both internal and international, political and religious strife, the emergence of a new empire and then the breaking up of it, all have played a part to obscure the development of the art form, keeping it within the boundaries of Greater Russia. Some believe that icons are religious pictures, whatever the medium and substrate. For this project I have chosen this definition: a transportable, devotional work of fine art painted on a wood panel following the original Greek abstract style. In its conception and early life, the icon had a particular form, coloration and style. It served to help the people to form a closer relationship with their beholder of what they were seeking. The believer could identify with the form, which was primitive and naturalistic. The impression could be remembered clearly and over the generations venerated. It is important to remember that icons were venerated for the part they played and not worshipped as idols, which at one time they were thought to be, even though the older generations thought the icons were not made by human hands. In the lifetime of the icon, the abstract form became pronounced. The archaic style became later followed by what was to become a recognizable traditional style in the early 1300s, which preceded the more representational form which developed into Mannerist. Icons or panel paintings are faith objects and serve as reminders to transcend the material world with its physical reality into a spiritual world of truth and light. They also serve as bearers of hope for the vast majority of Great Russia, the poor, the oppressed and disabled. As a general statement about coloration, the majority of Russian panel paintings are predominantly red or maroon and brown. After the middle of the 15th century, gold began to appear, particularly for the backgrounds, halo, outlining and highlights. In many scenes the paths, small mounds of rocks, steps and plinths were drawn out of square or out of perspective, the treads and rises sloping or falling forwards. It was believed that this gave the picture a feeling of distance. The evolution of the national style. Painting fine art pictures onto wood rather than any other substrate has a history of its own. It was performed by many cultures for its convenience, versatility and ease of handling. Perhaps its greatest facility was its transportability and permanence of image. It is little wonder, then, that it was used extensively by religious artists as a way of transmitting to the people another life, beyond daily existence, one that they could appeal to seek comfort and absolution. Over time, the paintings assumed an even greater significance, to be revered and blessed with supernatural powers. After many pictures had been produced, by repetition, a form devised that passed on to new generations the message of redemption, by colour, style and form, becoming representational and mannered. This form of art was a development of Middle Eastern temple painting, Greek and Italian frescoes, and religious painters after the death of Christ in Rome. The painters, with their artistic style and materials, travelled northwards along with their benefactors, when the Christian Church split to become an eastern and western part. The Eastern art movement travelled from Greece up through Asia Minor to southern Russia and Kiev, as Islamic dominance came behind to spread its empire. As the art movement moved north, each country offered some influence. Syria onto Anatolia, Armenia into the Caucasus, the influence of the letter form and writings. The juxtaposition of primary colours, the scenes built up working from right to left, the stress on the meaning, the features now dark brown or deep red, stressing a certain mournfulness with tenderness. The further north, the more ethereal the painting becomes. Gone the distant aloofness and ascetic disdain. The invitation to lavishness, full colour and clearness of line proclaimed a greater surety and confidence. In the 200-year period we are to emulate, 1350 to 1550, the wood was split from the trunk using an axe and hammered wedges to form balks and then planks. If the wood worked soon after the tree felled, this splitting was relatively simple to achieve. The split planks were made uniform to a number of set sizes for building work, furniture manufacturing, and sundry other tasks. They were stacked on stickers to allow circulation air to season the wood, and this may have taken many months or years depending on the wood's eventual use. This is known as putting the wood to stick. Although this appears at first glance to be a rather crude, the artisans were experts. All buildings were of wood and the operations for cutting and smoothing commonplace. Large panels made by gluing planks together with inserted wedges, plus ledges and braces to prevent twisting and splitting. This method used for panel making and furniture making. The face of the panel worked over with an adze and then scraped and sanded. Finally, a large flat stone spun on the surface with fine silver sand to give a final smooth finish. Both the smoothing of the surface and the application of the first coats of size give the surface a thirsty surface and ensure following coats of surface preparation will adhere properly. The size or primer will help to fill in the pores of the wood, prevent the gesso from drying out too quickly, and make the new surface more receptive to the gesso. Frequent applications of thin coats of size and later gesso before the previous coat fully dry should prevent the surface from cracking, and naturally all these surface materials are water-based. After the final coat of gesso, the panel dried naturally for at least 2 days before sketching in the drawing's key lines. I have screwed the batten to the top of the frame to accept a pin tracing that can be flapped back. The project. The aim is to produce a panel painting measuring 61 centimeters by 43 centimeters. The object is to emulate the same style, use the same materials and perform the same techniques as a painter of the 14th century to match the golden days of Andrew Rublev, associated with the Russian national and Novgorod style of 1315 to 1430. The subject, the Virgin Mary, she the firstborn of the new creation, the renewal of all born on earth, the mother of all renewed humanity, was the incarnation of the Son of God. The method, I shall set out all the steps and tools necessary to achieve the aims and objectives without embellishment, in a manner that anyone with some limited skills could attain, giving UK prices and purchasing restrictions according to weight, pigment, and qualities from a registered distributor.